The night the accident happened, snow swallowed the highway whole. Evelyn Carter, billionaire, CEO, woman who controlled cities with signatures, lost control of everything in a single second. Doctors said she was unconscious. Machines breathed for her. But inside the frozen stillness of her body, Evelyn heard every word. She heard executives whisper about her fortune. She heard relatives divide what they thought she'd never reclaim. Then, in the quiet of a winter night, a single dad in worn boots walked into her room and said something that shattered the woman money had never managed to save. The winter gala had been flawless. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across Chicago's elite, checkbooks opening for causes they'd forget by morning. Evelyn Carter had given her speech brief, commanding, the kind that made investors lean forward and slipped out before the applause faded. She preferred it that way. Present, powerful, gone. Her driver had called in sick. Fine. She'd drive herself. The highways were clear enough, and she'd driven in worse. That confidence lasted exactly 47 minutes. The snow started as she merged onto I-94, fat flakes that caught in her headlights like static. Within minutes, it thickened into a white curtain that swallowed the lane markers. Evelyn slowed, gripping the wheel tighter. She'd been in control of boardrooms, hostile takeovers, billion-dollar negotiations. She could handle weather. Then, the semi-truck appeared. It came from the left, jackknifing on black ice, a wall of steel and momentum with nowhere to go. Evelyn's brain processed it in fragments, the screech of locked brakes, the way her own car spun like something weightless. The specific sound of metal folding when physics decides the outcome. Her Mercedes hit the guardrail. The airbag exploded into her chest. Glass became snow, became red and blue lights, strobing through the white. She was still conscious for those last few seconds. A man was there, kneeling in the snow beside her shattered window. Not a paramedic, his coat was too thin, his gloves too worn. He pulled off one glove and reached through the broken glass to take her hand. "You'll be okay," he said. His voice was steady, certain. "Help's coming. Just hold on." His hand was warm. Evelyn wanted to tell him she was fine, that she was Evelyn Carter and she didn't need reassurance from strangers. But the words wouldn't come. The cold was spreading from her legs upward, and the strobing lights were fading into something softer. The last thing she felt was his thumb moving gently across her knuckles. Then darkness. Evelyn woke to the sound of machines breathing. Not woke, that wasn't right. She couldn't wake, couldn't open her eyes, couldn't move her fingers, couldn't make her chest rise on its own. But she was there, inside her body, listening to the mechanical rhythm of air being pushed into her lungs and pulled back out. Beep, beep, beep. A monitor somewhere near her head, counting heartbeats she couldn't feel. Still, no response to stimuli. A woman's voice, clinical and tired. Pupils fixed and dilated. "We're looking at a severe, traumatic brain injury with minimal brain activity." Footsteps. The rustle of a clipboard. "How long do we keep her on the ventilator?" "That's for the family to decide. She's got power of attorney documentation, but we'll need to contact her next of kin." Family. Evelyn would have laughed if she could move any muscle in her face. She had a sister she hadn't spoken to in 12 years, and a nephew who sent Christmas cards with misspelled names. The doctors left. The machines kept breathing for her. Snow tapped against the window. She could hear it, gentle and relentless, the same snow that had put her here. Street Aurora Hospital, they'd said. She knew it. She'd been to a fundraiser here once, cut a ribbon for the new cardiac wing. Now she was a body in one of its beds, a case number, a problem to be solved or stored away. For the first time in 30 years, Evelyn Carter had no control over anything. Not her body, not her company, not even her next breath. The machines beeped on. The snow kept falling, and inside the silence, Evelyn listened. They came on the third day. Evelyn recognized Andrew Collins's voice before he finished his first sentence. Her CFO for 6 years. The man who'd once told her he'd follow her vision anywhere. His footsteps were quick, expensive shoes on tile. This is a tragedy, of course. Andrew's voice had the practiced tone of someone who'd rehearsed sympathy in a mirror. But we need to discuss contingencies. Agreed. That was Patricia Morton, the corporate attorney. Evelyn had hired her specifically because she was ruthless. Apparently that ruthlessness worked both ways. The succession clause is clear. If the CEO is incapacitated for more than 30 days, the board can vote to appoint interim leadership. Has it been 30 days? Not yet. But given the medical prognosis, Patricia let the sentence hang. Evelyn's heart monitor maintained its steady rhythm. Inside, she was screaming. What about her shares? Andrew again. The majority stake? Held in trust, pending mental competency evaluation. If she's declared legally incompetent, they'd pass to her designated beneficiary, which is her sister, Lauren Carter Williams. Andrew made a thoughtful sound. I see. They talked for 20 more minutes. Numbers, percentages, board votes. They stood 3 feet from her bed and dissected her life's work like accountants auditing a failing branch. When they left, Evelyn was alone with the machines again, but not for long. The door opened softly. Cheaper shoes this time. Hesitant steps. Miss Carter? It's me, Lauren. The sister who'd accused her of abandoning the family. Who'd said Evelyn chose money over people, ambition over love. Who'd stopped calling 8 years ago. I know you can't hear me. Lauren's voice cracked slightly. The doctors said, they said you're not in there anymore. But I had to come. I had to tell you I'm sorry. For everything. A pause. The sound of Lauren sitting in the visitor's chair. They said, I'm your beneficiary. I didn't know. I never expected. Evelyn, I don't want your money. I just wanted my sister back. The words might have meant something once. But Evelyn had heard the conversation with Andrew. She knew Patricia Morton was already drawing up papers. Lauren might not want the money, but she'd take it. They always did. When Lauren left, she squeezed Evelyn's hand once. Evelyn felt nothing. The snow outside thickened. The machines beeped on. And in the isolation of her silent prison, Evelyn Carter realized something worse than losing control. No one was here because they cared if she lived. They were here to measure what she'd leave behind. He came on a Tuesday night, after visiting hours. Evelyn heard him before she saw him, not that she could see anything. But she'd learned to map her room by sound. The door was to her left. The window was behind her head. The machines were to her right, counting down a life she couldn't live. These footsteps were different, slower. The soft squeak of rubber soles, not leather. Work boots, maybe. Or the kind of shoes that got replaced when they wore through, not when they went out of style. The voice was quiet, almost apologetic. A man's voice, rough around the edges in a way that suggested cigarettes or winter air, or both. I don't know if you remember me. You probably don't. It was dark, and there was a lot going on. He sat in the chair beside her bed. Evelyn heard the creak of cheap plastic, the exhale of someone who'd been on his feet too long. I'm Daniel Brooks. I was driving behind you when the accident happened. I saw the whole thing, the truck, the spin, everything. A pause. The sound of him rubbing his hands together, warming them. I stayed with you until the paramedics came. I didn't know who you were then. Didn't know until I saw your picture on the news. Billionaire CEO, they said. You run half the businesses in Chicago. He laughed softly, without humor. I just saw someone who needed help. Evelyn's monitor beeped steadily. Outside, wind drove snow against the window. The paramedics told me you probably wouldn't make it. Said the injuries were too severe. But you're still here. So that's something. He shifted in the chair. I came back because, I don't know. Because I held your hand and told you it would be okay, and I wanted to know if I was right. If you made it. Daniel was quiet for a moment. You did make it. Sort of. The doctors said you can't hear me, that you're not really in there. But I don't know. My wife was sick for a long time before she passed. The doctors said a lot of things. They weren't always right. He stood up, boots scuffing tile. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive, even if you don't know it. The world's probably a better place with you in it, billionaire or not. The door opened and closed. Evelyn lay in the darkness behind her eyelids, listening to machines breathe for her. For the first time since the accident, something in her chest felt warm. Not pity, not sympathy, recognition. The man from the snow. The one who'd held her hand when steel and glass were folding around her. The one whose voice had been steady when everything else was chaos. He'd come back, not for her money, not for her company, just to see if she was okay. The machines beeped on. But Evelyn was listening for something else now. The sound of rubber-soled boots in the hallway. Daniel came back the next night, and the night after that. He always came late, after the nurses had made their rounds and the hospital had settled into its nocturnal rhythm. Evelyn learned to recognize his approach, the measured pace of someone who spent his days walking miles of corridors. The pause at her door as he checked if anyone else was there. "It's just me again," he'd say, settling into the chair. "Hope you don't mind the company." He never stayed long. 20 minutes, maybe 30. But he talked, not about her, not about the accident. He talked about his life, ordinary and unhurried, like he was making conversation with a neighbor over a fence. "Emma had a spelling test today," he said one night. "Got a 92. She was upset about the 8 points she missed. I told her 92 was great, but you know how kids are. She wants to be perfect at everything." Emma. His daughter. 8 years old, he'd mentioned, loved drawing and hated broccoli. "I work nights," Daniel continued. "Custodial services. That's a fancy way of saying I clean floors and empty trash. It's good work. Honest work. Pays enough to keep the lights on and put food on the table." The chair creaked as he leaned back. "People don't really see us, you know? The cleaning crew. We're there every night, but we're kind of invisible. Doctors and nurses walk right past like we're furniture. That's okay. We're not there to be seen. We're there to make sure everything's clean for the next day." He paused. "I think that's important. Every room I clean, someone's going to use it. Maybe they'll get good news there. Maybe they'll get bad news. Either way, it should be clean. Dignified." Evelyn found herself listening differently. Not analyzing, not judging, just listening. "Emma asked me why I don't get a better job," Daniel said. "One that pays more, that I could do during the day so I could see her more. I told her this job lets me be there when she gets home from school. That matters more than money." A soft laugh. She didn't understand. She's 8, but she will someday. The machines beeped. Snow whispered against glass. "My wife, Sarah, understood," Daniel said quietly. "She was a nurse. Worked here, actually, before she got sick. She always said the most important work happens in the margins, the quiet conversations, the hand-holding, the small kindnesses nobody writes down in the charts." He was quiet for a long moment. "I miss her. It's been 3 years, and I still miss her every single day. Emma does too, even though she was only 5 when Sarah passed." The chair creaked again as Daniel stood. "Anyway, that's my exciting life. Nothing like running a billion-dollar empire, I'm sure. But it's mine." He paused at the door. "Good night, Evelyn. I hope wherever you are, you're at peace." After he left, Evelyn lay in the darkness, thinking about visibility. She'd spent 30 years making sure everyone saw her. Every entrance, every decision, every strategic move calculated to ensure Evelyn Carter was the most important person in any room. And now the only person who saw her really saw her, not her money, or her power, or her use, was a man who cleaned floors for minimum wage. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. "The doctors told me Sarah couldn't hear me at the end," Daniel said. It was Thursday. Or maybe Friday. Evelyn had lost track of days. They were all the same beeping, the same breathing, the same helplessness. But Daniel's visits had become the marks she measured time by. The rhythm of his arrival, the sound of his voice cutting through the mechanical monotony. She was in a room a lot like this one, he continued. Different floor, but same machines, same sounds. Cancer had spread everywhere. They'd done all they could do. The chair creaked. The doctor was kind about it. Said Sarah's brain activity was minimal. Said she wasn't experiencing anything, wasn't aware. Said talking to her was really just for my benefit, not hers. A pause. I talked to her anyway. Outside, an ambulance siren wailed past, fading into the snowy night. I told her about Emma's day, about the bills I'd paid, about stupid things I'd seen on the way to work, and I told her I loved her. Every single day, I told her that. Daniel's voice got quieter. The night before she died, something changed. I was holding her hand, telling her about Emma learning to ride a bike, and her fingers moved. Just barely, just the smallest squeeze. The nurses said it was a reflex, involuntary muscle contraction. Nothing meaningful, a shaky breath, but I know what I felt. She heard me, and she was telling me she heard. Evelyn wanted to scream. Yes, exactly. I'm here. I hear everything. So, when they tell me you can't hear anything, Daniel continued, when they say there's nobody home, I don't necessarily believe them. Maybe they're right. Maybe you're gone and this is just a body breathing. But maybe they're wrong. He shifted in his chair. Either way, it costs me nothing to treat you like you're listening. To talk to you like you're a person, not a diagnosis. Sarah would have done the same. The monitor beeped its endless rhythm. Here's what I think, Daniel said. I think consciousness is stranger than we understand. I think there are places people go that machines can't measure. And I think loneliness exists even in silence. He stood up. So I'll keep coming back. Not because I expect anything. Not because I think you'll wake up and thank me. Just because nobody should be alone. The boots moved toward the door. Nobody should be alone, he repeated. Not even billionaires. After he left, Evelyn felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not gratitude, exactly. Not yet, but the beginning of it, the seed of understanding that she'd spent decades building walls around herself, ensuring her independence, her self-sufficiency, her absolute control. And now, trapped in a body that wouldn't respond, she was learning the cost of those walls. The machines kept her alive, but Daniel's voice made her want to live. Emma came on a Sunday. Evelyn knew immediately something was different. The footsteps were smaller, quicker, accompanied by Daniel's familiar tread. Remember what we talked about, Daniel said gently. Miss Carter is very sick. She can't talk or move. But we can still be kind to her, okay? Okay, Daddy. A child's voice, high and clear. Small footsteps approached the bed. Evelyn felt the mattress shift slightly as Emma apparently climbed onto the chair to get closer. She looks like she's sleeping, Emma said. Sort of. But it's different from regular sleep. Does she have dreams? I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe. A tiny hand touched Evelyn's arm. The touch was feather-light, hesitant. Hi, Miss Carter. I'm Emma. I'm in 3rd grade. My daddy says you're very smart and important. Daniel made a soft sound, half laugh, half something else. Emma, you don't have to, but I want to talk to her. The small hand stayed on Evelyn's arm. Daddy talks to people who can't talk back. He says it's important. Yes. That's right. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, Miss Carter, are you lonely? Daddy says hospitals can be lonely, even with all the people around. Evelyn's heart monitor maintained its steady rhythm. Inside, something cracked. Yes, she wanted to say. Yes, I'm so lonely I can't breathe. I've been lonely my whole life and I never knew it until now. I get lonely sometimes, Emma continued, her voice matter of fact. At school, when the other kids play games I don't understand. Or at home, when I miss Mommy. Emma Daniel's voice was tight. It's okay, Daddy. You said it's okay to talk about Mommy. I did. You're right. The small hand patted Evelyn's arm gently. My mommy died, Emma said. But Daddy says she's still with us in our hearts. Do you have people in your heart, Miss Carter? Evelyn thought of her empty penthouse, her scheduled dinners with business associates, her sister who'd stopped calling, her nephew who sent cards with wrong names. No, she realized. I don't. I think everyone has people in their hearts, Emma decided, even if they don't know it yet. There was a rustling sound. Paper. I made you something, Emma said. Daddy, can you tape it to the wall where she can see it? Oh wait, she can't see. Tape it where it feels like she can see it. That's very thoughtful, sweetheart. More rustling. The sound of tape being pulled from a dispenser. There, Daniel said. Right where the light hits it. It's a picture of us, Emma explained. Me and Daddy and you. We're all standing in the snow, but the sun is coming out. Because even when it's cold, the sun always comes back. The small hand found Evelyn's again. You're not alone, Miss Carter. We're here. Something inside Evelyn shattered, not broke. Shattered. Every wall she'd built, every defense she'd constructed, every cold certainty she'd wrapped around herself like armor, all of it came apart under the gentle pressure of a child's hand. She couldn't cry. Couldn't move. Couldn't show any sign of the earthquake happening inside her. But if she could have moved, she would have held that small hand and never let go. Time to go, Emma, Daniel said softly. Okay. Bye, Miss Carter. I'll come visit again if Daddy says it's okay. The small footsteps retreated. The door opened. You did good, sweetheart, Daniel said. I hope she knows she has people in her heart now. I think she does. The door closed. Evelyn lay in the darkness, surrounded by machines, marked by the beeping that counted her heartbeats. But she wasn't alone anymore. A child had seen her, really seen her. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, not the woman whose signature moved millions. Just a person who might be lonely, and somehow, impossibly, that was everything. Andrew Collins came back on Tuesday with two men in expensive suits. Evelyn recognized the type. Lawyers, the kind that specialized in complicated estates and incompetency hearings. The neurologist confirmed it this morning, Andrew said. Persistent vegetative state. No meaningful brain activity. No chance of recovery. And the family has agreed to long-term care placement? One of the lawyers. Her sister signed the papers yesterday. Street Mercy Care Facility. They specialize in these cases. When's the transfer? Friday morning. 3 days. What about the business assets? The board votes tomorrow on interim leadership. It's a formality at this point. They talked for 15 minutes. Transfer logistics. Asset distribution. The systematic dismantling of Evelyn Carter's life, reduced to signatures and file folders. When they left, Evelyn understood. This was the end. Not death, something worse. Storage. She'd be moved to a facility where people went to not die, kept alive by machines in a building that smelled like disinfectant and defeat. Daniel wouldn't know where to find her. Emma wouldn't come visit. She'd be alone again, truly alone, until her body finally gave up what her mind couldn't release. That night, Evelyn waited for the familiar sound of rubber-soled boots. They came at 10:47 p.m. Daniel sat in the chair, but he didn't speak immediately. She could hear him breathing, the kind of heavy breath that came before hard words. I heard them talking, he finally said. The transfer. Friday. The chair creaked. I tried to find out where they're taking you. The nurses won't tell me. Patient privacy. I'm not family, so... He trailed off. Silence. Just the machines and the wind. I should have known this was coming, Daniel said quietly. These visits couldn't last forever. You need specialized care, and I'm just a janitor who happened to be there when you crashed. Another pause. But I wanted you to know something before they move you. I wanted you to know that you mattered. Not your money, not your company. You. The person I held on to in the snow. His voice cracked. Sarah taught me that everyone deserves to be seen. Not for what they do or what they have, but for who they are. And I saw you, Evelyn. I don't know if you heard any of this. I don't know if you're in there at all. But if you are, I hope you know you weren't alone. Evelyn felt him take her hand. His thumb moved across her knuckles, the same gentle motion from that night in the snow. Goodbye, Evelyn Carter. I hope you find peace. He held her hand for a long time. Minutes, maybe. Long enough that Evelyn memorized the warmth of it, the calluses on his palm, the steady certainty of his grip. Then he let go. The boots walked to the door. Stopped. For what it's worth, Daniel said. I think you're still in there. I think you hear everything. And I think you're stronger than any of them know. The door opened and closed. Evelyn lay in the darkness, feeling the ghost of his hand on hers. Friday was 3 days away. 3 days until she disappeared into a facility where no one would talk to her, where no one would see her, where she'd exist but not live until her body finally gave permission to die. 3 days. Inside her frozen body, inside the prison of silence and stillness, Evelyn Carter made a decision. She was done being invisible. She was done being silent. She was done letting other people decide what happened to Evelyn Carter. It was time to wake up. Wednesday. Evelyn spent the entire day trying. Not trying to move, she'd been trying that since the accident. Trying to focus. Trying to gather every scattered piece of consciousness into a single point of will. Her body was a prison, but it was still her body. The machines breathed for her, but her heart beat on its own. Somewhere in the wreckage of neurons and damaged pathways, there had to be a connection, one signal that could make it through. One movement, no matter how small. She focused on her right hand, the hand Daniel had held, the hand that had signed contracts worth billions. Move. Nothing. Move. The monitor beeped its endless rhythm. Move. By Wednesday evening, she was exhausted in a way she couldn't physically feel. But she didn't stop. Thursday. The morning nurses came and went. A doctor checked her vitals, made notes, left without speaking to her. Andrew Collins stopped by at noon. One more day, he said to someone Evelyn couldn't see, probably Patricia Morton. Then this whole situation is resolved. Resolved, like she was a problem. A line item to be checked off and forgotten. Evelyn focused harder. Her entire existence narrowed to a single point. Her right index finger. Every fragment of consciousness, every shred of will, every ounce of determination that had built an empire, all of it concentrated on one simple command. Move. Thursday evening arrived. The sun set beyond her window, painting the room in shades of orange and gray. Still nothing. Maybe the doctors were right. Maybe there was nobody home. Maybe consciousness without the ability to act was just another form of death. Slower and crueler. The boots came at 10:52 p.m. Daniel sat down heavily, like he'd carried something exhausting all day. Last time, he said quietly, they're moving you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Evelyn's heart monitor beeped. Emma wanted to come say goodbye, but I couldn't. I couldn't bring her. She's 8. She doesn't need to learn that goodbye can be this hard. He was quiet for a moment. I brought her drawing, though. The one she made for you. I thought maybe. I don't know. Maybe wherever you end up, someone could tape it on your wall. So part of us goes with you. Paper rustled. He was holding the drawing. 3 people in the snow, Daniel said. The sun breaking through. She really believes that, you know. His voice broke. I hope you're at peace, Evelyn. I hope you're not suffering. I hope you knew someone cared. Silence. Then, so quietly, Evelyn almost didn't hear it. You mattered to me. Those 4 words. You mattered to me. Not your money. Not your power. Not what you could do for him. Something ignited inside Evelyn's chest. Not metaphorically. Literally. A surge of determination so fierce it felt like electricity. She focused every particle of consciousness on her right hand. on Daniel's hand, resting beside hers on the bed, on the single movement that would tell him everything. Her finger twitched. The movement was microscopic, a fractional shift of muscle and tendon, but it was there. Daniel's breath caught. What? She did it again. Stronger this time, her index finger moving against his palm. Evelyn, the heart monitor's rhythm changed. Faster, the machine registering what her body was doing. She pushed harder. Not just the finger now, her whole hand, fighting through layers of damage and disconnection. Her fingers curled around his. A squeeze, weak, trembling, but unmistakable. Oh my God. Daniel's voice was shaking. Evelyn, can you hear me? She squeezed again. I need to get a doctor. I need to. No, don't leave. Don't go. She held onto his hand with everything she had. Okay. Okay, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Evelyn gathered every remaining fragment of strength. The final push. The last wall to break through. Her eyes. They'd been closed for 2 weeks, sealed shut by swelling and damage and the body's instinct to protect what it couldn't heal. Open. The darkness behind her eyelids lightened. A crack of brightness, painful and beautiful. Open. Light flooded in. Blurry shapes, colors. The world she thought she'd lost. And there, leaning over her with tears streaming down his face, was Daniel Brooks. She saw him. Really saw him. Evelyn's lips moved. No sound came out at first. Her throat was raw from the ventilator tube they'd removed days ago. Her voice, a rusted mechanism. But she tried. And finally, in a whisper barely louder than breath, Evelyn Carter spoke her first words in 2 weeks. I heard you. The next 3 weeks were a blur of tests, therapy sessions, and incremental victories. The doctors called it miraculous. A 1 in a million recovery from what should have been irreversible damage. They published papers about it, filled reports with medical terminology that turned human experience into data points. Evelyn didn't care about the terminology. She cared that she could move her right hand on command now, that she could swallow water without choking, that she could stay awake for more than 20 minutes at a time. Daniel visited every night, still coming after his shift ended, still sitting in the same plastic chair. Emma came twice a week, drawing new pictures that the nurses taped to every available wall surface. You're famous now, Emma announced one evening, swinging her legs from the chair. Evelyn, still unable to speak for more than a few words at a time, raised an eyebrow. I think it's silly, Emma continued. You were always you. You just couldn't tell anyone. Sometimes children understood things better than adults ever could. The conversation Evelyn dreaded came on a Tuesday. Andrew Collins appeared in her doorway, looking significantly less confident than during his previous visits. Evelyn. He cleared his throat. It's good to see you recovering. She stared at him steadily. Her speech therapist had told her to save her voice, to speak only when necessary. This didn't qualify as necessary. I want to explain, Andrew started. The board, actions, the succession planning, it was all standard procedure. Out, Evelyn whispered. I'm sorry. She took a careful breath. You're fired. Out. Evelyn, please. 6 years I've worked for you. I was trying to protect the company, to ensure you were counting my money. Each word cost effort. Before I was cold. Andrew's face went white. I never meant. Patricia Morton, fired. Lauren gets nothing. She paused, gathering strength. Leave. He left. Evelyn closed her eyes, exhausted but satisfied. That afternoon, her lawyer, a new one, recommended by Daniel of all people, arrived to discuss next steps. Your sister has filed a counterclaim, the lawyer explained. She says she signed the power of attorney documents under duress, that she never wanted. Let her have the house in Montana, Evelyn said slowly. I never used it, but it's worth. I know what it's worth. Let her have it. The lawyer made notes, looking puzzled. I want to establish a foundation, Evelyn continued. Single parents, scholarships, childcare support. Housing assistance. That's very generous. How much were you thinking? 50 million. To start. The lawyer's pen stopped moving. 50. To start? May I ask what prompted this? Evelyn thought about a hand in the snow, about rubber-soled boots in a quiet hallway, about a child who believed the sun always came back. Someone taught me what matters, she said. 4 weeks after waking up, Evelyn was moved to an inpatient rehabilitation facility. It was expensive, comfortable, and nothing like the long-term care warehouse Andrew had arranged. Daniel brought Emma to visit on Saturday. They said you're walking now. Emma bounced through the door. Can I see, please? Evelyn was in her wheelchair. She could walk about 15 feet with a walker, but it exhausted her. Still, for Emma, she'd try. Help me up. Daniel was immediately there, supporting her elbow as she transferred to the walker. Emma watched with enormous eyes. Evelyn took one step, then another. Her legs shook, and her left side was weaker than her right, but she moved forward. 5 steps. Emma applauded like Evelyn had just performed a miracle. Maybe she had. When Evelyn sat back down, breathing hard, Emma climbed into her lap. I'm proud of you, the child said seriously. Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. When was the last time someone had said that to her? When was the last time she'd done something worth being proud of that wasn't measured in profit margins? Thank you, she whispered. Daniel was watching them with an expression Evelyn couldn't quite name. Soft, warm, the way someone looked at things they wanted to protect. I need to tell you something, Evelyn said to him. Okay, the foundation, the one for single parents. I want you to help run it. Daniel blinked. What? You know what people need. What actually helps. Not what rich donors think helps. Evelyn, I clean floors. I don't know anything about running a foundation. You know everything that matters. And you can learn the rest. She held his gaze. I'm offering you a job, good salary, day hours, benefits for Emma. He stared at her. You don't have to decide now, Evelyn added. But think about it. Please. Why? Daniel asked quietly. Because you saw me when I was invisible. Because you talked to me when everyone else talked around me. Because you taught me the difference between being alive and living. Emma looked between them. Does this mean we'll see Miss Carter more? If she'll have us, Daniel said. Always, Evelyn said. 6 months later, on a morning when the last snow of winter was melting into spring, Evelyn Carter stood at the window of her new office. Not the corner suite at Carter Industries. She'd stepped down as CEO, appointed a successor she actually trusted. She still sat on the board, still had influence, but she didn't need to control everything anymore. This office was smaller, warmer. The walls were covered with children's drawings, including Emma's original picture of 3 people under a winter sun. Behind her, she could hear Daniel on the phone with a grant applicant, his voice patient and kind. Tell me about your situation, he was saying. No, take your time. I know it's hard to ask for help. Evelyn smiled. She'd spent 30 years building an empire that didn't save her when she needed saving. It took losing everything, control, power, the ability to speak or move or exist in any meaningful way to learn the truth. Money had never saved her. Being seen did. Being heard did. Being loved by a man who cleaned floors and a child who drew suns breaking through winter clouds, that's what saved her. Evelyn turned from the window. Coffee? She asked Daniel. He looked up, smiled. Always. It was a small word, a simple word, but it meant everything. Outside, the snow was gone, and the sun, just as Emma had always believed, had come back. The foundation grew steadily. Daniel interviewed applicants personally, listening to stories that mirrored his own. Evelyn handled the business side differently now. She collaborated instead of dictating. It was harder than running a corporation, less controllable. She'd never felt more alive. One Friday evening, Daniel knocked on her office door, looking nervous. "Emma asks every day if you're coming home," he said. "We're getting a bigger place, 3 bedrooms. The third gets good light. Emma says it would be perfect for someone who might want to be part of our family." Evelyn thought about her penthouse. Expensive silence. No happy memories. She thought about Daniel's cramped apartment where Emma's drawings covered everything. "I snore," Evelyn said. Daniel smiled. "Okay, and I work too much. Okay, and I don't know how to be part of a family. Is this your way of saying yes?" She looked at him, this man who'd taught her that strength wasn't about control. It was about letting go. Emma's 9th birthday was pizza, rainbow cake, and 20 screaming children. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Evelyn and Daniel sat on their balcony. "Thank you for not giving up on me," Evelyn said. "Sarah made me promise I wouldn't let the world make me hard," Daniel said quietly. "Keeping that promise led me to you." Inside, Emma called out. They found her tangled in blankets. Emma's eyes fluttered open. "Evie, I'm here, sweetheart. Don't go away. Never," Evelyn whispered. In the doorway, Daniel smiled. "I'm glad you came back." "Me too." The winter that had almost killed Evelyn felt very far away. Spring was here, and the sun had come back.